What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. 3 days in a row with a live stream. Back at it once again today to talk about another quarterback prospect. We took a look at Jackson Dart, then we took a look at Shedeur Sanders. You guys really enjoyed it. We had a lot of great interactions in the live chat. Now we want to take a look at another second-round quarterback prospect, Jalen Milroe, in today's episode. Going to break down the film, watch him perform against Georgia from the season. Alabama quarterback. I like him. He's obviously a flawed prospect. Otherwise, he'd be a top 10 pick in a weak quarterback class. He's looking to be a second-round draft pick, and we're going to go ahead and break down why we think he could be a great player and what might hold him back and why he won't be a first-round pick. But before we dive into all that, Alex, how are you doing today, my friend? How are you feeling after yesterday when I had to fight to convert you to become a Shedeur Sanders enjoyer? And are you excited to go ahead and talk about Jalen Milroe today?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm loving this series of going through the quarterbacks and taking a look at some of these prospects. Obviously, Jalen Milroe hasn't been discussed a ton in relation to the Giants, but the Giants brass has done a lot of work on the quarterbacks, including Milroe. Now, his stats are really interesting, right? He had 205 completions on 324 attempts. He barely threw the ball at times this year, but when he did, there were ups and downs. He had some really insane games and some really bad games. And he had a 63.3% completion rate. I think he probably would have benefited from going back to school and going to maybe even transferring to a team that was a little bit more pass heavy. But this is an elite prospect in a couple of ways. And the run game is the most obvious. He had 2,834 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions in the passing game. But on the ground, this dude put up ridiculous numbers, 879 yards, 20 touchdowns. He did fumble 11 times, so that might be a little thing he needs to work on. But you're talking about a guy that averaged 5.9 yards per attempt. He's like a running back at the quarterback position. But we've seen where these things, the comps have been Lamar Jackson. Of course, he was a lot more refined of a passer coming out of Louisville, and there's a lot to work with. You have to build a system and a scheme around a guy like Jalen Milroe. He's not ready to start on day one in the NFL, in my opinion. But with that being said, people in the chat comparing him to Jalen Hurts, I see a lot of that comparison. I think actually Milroe's a better runner than Jalen Hurts. He's a lot faster. But I will say this, from a quarterbacking perspective, from a throwing perspective, it's not pretty a lot of times. We chose the Georgia game actually to break down in this film session because he did have one of his best passing games. And what I wanted to and what Anthony and I kind of wanted to look at is the upside of him as a quarterback. Where does he have the most upside as a passer? Because, seeing those glimpses of the positivity of the great performance gives you a little bit of an indication of like, okay, can he get there long-term? Can he develop and get to that level of quarterback? He's going to have to sit. He's going to have to learn. They're going to have to design an offense around him. So if the Giants are planning on going in that direction, Milroe definitely feels like an option they could consider, but he's not a player that's going to come in and save Joe Schoen and Brian Dable's job. I can firmly stand behind that take. He's going to need time, and the Giants have to be very patient with a player like this. So, Anthony, obviously this is a really interesting one, a really interesting player, but it's going to be fun to break down this game specifically because obviously this is one of his best performances, and he's going to look like a first-round pick in this one.
Yeah, he's going to look like a great player in this one based on, the fact that they beat Georgia in this game. Number 2 ranked Georgia. He had a really strong performance. But as always, we're going to look at it from an objective lens. When he throws a bad ball, we're going to pick it apart and kind of decide why that was a bad pass and how that could be something to keep an eye on and cause for concern. And obviously, when he makes a great play with his legs or with his arm, we're going to break that down as well and try and be as objective as possible. But Alex, before we get into this film, I got to say, I am so excited for the divisional round of the NFL playoffs this weekend. I think it's going to be a lot of great football on my TV this weekend. You've got the Texans versus the Chiefs. Obviously, you've got the Bills versus the Lions. Bills versus the Ravens. I think that's going to be the game of the year. Lions, Commanders. There's a lot of good football on. And I want to go ahead and take a quick look over at BetUS, a sponsor for today's episode, and just talk about one of these lines that I really like. Now, if you're looking at this Texans-Chiefs game, I think this is easy. The Chiefs haven't beat the spread at any point this season. All of their games have been one-score games, but for some reason, they're 2-score favorites over the Houston Texans. I'm not buying it. I like Houston +9 at -120. I think this is a great line to take over here on BetUS. I'm going to go ahead and throw $10 down on it. And hey, hopefully we can win a little bit of cash while watching these great games this upcoming weekend. So, guys, make sure you go ahead and check out BetUS, the sports book with the fastest payouts in the industry, and use code YouTube150 for a 150% deposit match up to $2,000. Make sure you go ahead and check out BetUS. So, again, really excited for this weekend, but let's waste no more time, Alex. Let's go ahead and get into this film and watch Jalen Milroe versus Alabama Crimson Tide. Ready, set, and let's go. There we are.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. All right, so I'll go ahead and begin to roll this film and let you take the first crack at giving your takeaway.
Well, immediately we're on what looks to be probably play action. I think this is probably what we're going to – oh, not even. This is just straight up shotgun. Nice throw, quick read. We like that. Get it out quickly. Open receiver. I think we're going to see a lot of play action from him. This is going to be a very much not a great throw. It's going to be a lot of similarities to what I think, someone mentioned Jalen Hurts earlier. A lot of play action is probably going to be in his game, and that makes sense because they want him to run the ball a lot.
I don't think it's going to be as much play action as it's going to be RPOs, like plays like
right.
this. This isn't play action passing. This is an RPO, and he should have handed this one off because his right guard did an excellent job freeing up this big hole here between the guard and the tackle. So this should have been a handoff. Instead, he pulls it, and he throws it, and he throws a very inaccurate screen pass, and there was a flag on the play. I'm not sure what it was, but that wasn't the prettiest throw.
He runs for like 117 yards in this game, too, I think you said.
Yes, he does, and I think he's taking off here.
So the one thing I will say about Milroe is the second that his eyes drop, that play is becoming a run. He is not like what we saw from Jackson Dart a bit is that he would drop his eyes, recalibrate, and then throw the ball. Jalen Milroe is going to drop his eyes and take off running. There is no coming back from his decision-making with that. And that's what you want from him, though. Like, you don't really want him, in my opinion, to be, picking his eyes back up and looking for that throw because he's so dangerous as a runner. If he sees that lane, I'm all for him just taking off because he can burn you.
Yeah, I don't think this play is the best example of that. No, I'm just saying. I see him go through 3 reads on this play.
Yeah, I'm just saying in general, like when he drops his eyes, he's going to take off.
I just want to highlight he went to read 1 here. You can see him look to read 2, and I think even 3, and then he decides he's not going to stand in that pocket. Although I do think that third read, number 1, this is a mesh concept where you're running 2 drags on top of each other versus man coverage. Should be able to recognize that is going to break somebody open. Number 1 does get open. Pocket collapsing. I would have liked to see him hang tough in there, hit number 1 in stride. He can turn upfield and definitely make it past the 50 if that ball is accurate. Instead, it becomes a 1-yard gain. So you are right. I mean, that's been one of the biggest.
It's a great pocket.
Yeah, it's a good pocket. It's been one of the biggest criticisms of Milroe. I mean, this guy is wide open. This ball should go there. He doesn't get through his reads and progressions all that well. I mean, you could see him on this play get through 2 of them and then still not hit that third receiver who's open. So it's almost just like the internal clock in his head is a little too fast.
Yeah, he's very reactive in that instance. Like he wants to run every time. So I'm sure we'll see a lot of that in this game. A little free play here.
Looks like it. Takes a big hit there. Oh my God.
It's a nice throw. Far hash
it was
too.
Caught though. Yeah, I want to see this from the wide angle one more time.
He's got some, I mean, from a base, that's a gun. Like he's got a sick arm for sure.
I think this ball is late, honestly. I think it could have gotten out sooner. If he's trying to throw this back shoulder, I think he could have gotten it out a little bit quicker and made it an easier catch. But
yeah, he dropped.
It did stand in there and take a massive hit. So,
okay.
So this is the exact same route concept that they ran just a few plays ago that I highlighted with that mesh concept where the tight end's going to run a drag and then the slot receiver is going to run another drag. This time it's against zone coverage, though, and I think he makes the right read. But this guy or maybe that is man coverage. I can't really tell, but this guy just has this safety, just heat-seeking missile blows this play up. I think this is the right read. I can't really blame Milroe for this one. That's just a great play by the DB.
It almost looks like they ran the exact same play and they're like, actually hit him this time.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. I think it was man coverage, so I guess that's where that safety came from. But it's kind of tough to recognize when the safety's playing that deep that he's going to jump up into man.
Yeah. Let's see. There's a deep ball.
It's not the worst throw, but it's not the best throw.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have a lot of touch on his deep passes. He kind of just guns them, and I think
We
that's
saw
kind of
DJ do that
evidenced
a lot.
here. Yeah, and not really in terms of his passing mechanics. I feel like this is a lot of arm and not a lot of lower body. He doesn't really flip his hips through that pass, in my opinion.
I would agree. We saw Sanders yesterday with just elite touch. He's strong arming this ball in there for sure.
Yeah, I mean that left arm gets way out in front of him too. It's just not, his balance is off on that one.
I mean, yeah, that's just a sick freaking like that's his superpower. This is his superpower. Like if he could throw the ball better, he'd be the number one pick, and wouldn't even be a question.
Yeah, I mean, and I also have to highlight the fact that, like we've seen a lot of rushing quarterbacks. Let's use last year's example of Jaden Daniels, because he was somebody who obviously was a tremendous runner. Went a little too far there. He was a tremendous runner, but one of the cons that we had on him was that he didn't necessarily make a lot of plays scrambling and throwing. It would be like we said earlier about Milroe. He would drop and then he would just decide, okay, nobody's open, I'm taking off. He wouldn't really extend plays and throw downfield. And that's fine because he's such a tremendous runner. However, we had concerns because Jaden Daniels is very skinny and we didn't want him to take a lot of hits. It's worked out just fine for him, and he is already an elite quarterback in the NFL. But one thing that I want to highlight with Milroe, he has that same trait. However, he's arguably a better runner, and he's built like a shit brick house. I'm not really worried about him taking hits. This kid is stacked. Like, he is just a stocky build quarterback, similar to Jalen Hurts. So I do love the muscle that he has and the ability to probably fight through some contact. I'm sure that we'll see like we did on that play in the pocket. And then just his ability to make people miss downfield. He is a really tremendous runner, and that is his X factor.
Yep. He has a superpower, and it is that. I really wish he would go back to school and transfer to a team with like a pass heavy offense where he could learn how to be a quarterback, because I just wish he had that, that ability, because it would be easy to draft him first overall if he could throw the ball even slightly better, just like a little bit better. Well, his mechanics are a bit off. But
I'll counterpoint and say he's not going to learn how to become a better quarterback from a college coach versus an NFL coach. An NFL coach will be able to coach him much better and develop him much better. And
yeah,
I think this is something that
playing time though.
Something that I brought up when I did the episode talking about him and Dart a couple of weeks ago. He has a lot of similarities in his game from a collegiate level to Josh Allen. And I think he makes a lot of sense for Brian Daboll in particular. You're right. He's going to be a project and he probably takes a few years to develop. However, this lack of fundamentals in his throwing motion, his wild inaccuracy at times. Meanwhile, he's just an incredible runner. I do think all of those are strengths and weaknesses that he shared with Wyoming Josh Allen that Daboll was able to unlock. So I think that he needs NFL coaching. I agree in some respects. I think he probably should have stayed in college for another year. But at the same time, if you're looking at it from his perspective, he could be a back end of a first-round prospect, maybe a second-round prospect, get into the right situation with the right coach, and he could have star potential. So I do see his rationale for foregoing his final year of eligibility.
Yeah, like I said, they're going to, whatever team drafts a guy like this, if they plan to make him a key component on their offense, they're going to have to design a system around him, because he's not going to be the best processor on earth. He can get the ball out, when necessary, but I don't see him as like this elite processor. I mean, it's a good throw, but it has to be simplified. The offense has to be simplified for him to be truly elite in it. I think the consistency that Daboll referenced is not what Milroe is going to provide on day one. He's going to be volatile, and that's what his game has been at Alabama.
Yeah, I actually don't fully agree, just because I don't think his processing is the problem. I think he reads the field quite well. This play also being a good example of it, recognizing the coverage and knowing who's going to be open and throwing it. It's just his accuracy. Like, he just can't hit the open receivers. But usually he knows where to go with the football, in my opinion. But we'll see if that rings true throughout the rest of this film. But, I mean, this is a good drop. And then, receiver at the top of the route, it's on time, and it gives the receiver time to make play with the ball in his hand. So this is a good throw right here. And a really good pocket as well from his offensive line.
Yep.
Nice move there by number 2.
This game is definitely an outlier for those in the comments. This is like his best game of the season, and it's not even close. So this is definitely his the one we're going to see the most of those traits that we're talking about. But I guess the point being is the flashes of that, like, can he get to this level at a consistent rate? that's where people are going to fall in love with him as a player. You know, can he?
Yeah, I mean, there's also a reason, like you referenced Lamar Jackson earlier. Sure, yeah, he was a more refined passer at Louisville. He won the Heisman, for God's sakes. But there is still reasons why he fell to the 32nd overall pick in the first round. So, you know, this kind of quarterback style is one that gave a lot of pause to scouts back then. But, you know, we just had a conversation recently, Alex. 6 of the quarterbacks remaining in the final 8 in the NFL right now, they can beat you with their legs, at least in some respect. So, having a mobile quarterback is becoming more valuable than ever. And I think that most NFL coaches are dreaming to have a quarterback to build an offense around their rushing attack with their passing ability. So I think Milroe is going to be a really intriguing prospect for a lot of teams.
Certainly. And I think that the one reason I don't think the Giants will draft him is because
it was a dime.
They don't. Oh, okay. I wasn't even looking, but I was going to say the one reason I think that the Giants won't draft him is because they don't have enough time. Brian Dable and Joe Schoen have to win now, and I don't think they have enough time to get him to where he needs to be, where he can be a winning quarterback in the NFL. Unless he has 2 or 3 years. That's where I see the timeline for him becoming like he needs that much time to get there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I have a differing opinion on that. I don't think that matters because, like, I just want the best player. I don't care about Joe Schoen and Brian Dable's job security, like, at all.
Me neither.
I know that they care. I understand, but I don't think it's going to factor in quite as much if they sign someone good in free agency. I think it's really tough to project that without knowing what they do in free agency. So, because if they draft a quarterback who can start them 17 games, then I think they will be comfortable taking a Milroe. Yeah. But I want to break down this play because I love the play design with this pre-snap motion, getting this clearly shifty, good receiving running back matched up one-on-one in man coverage against this ginormous, slow linebacker. And then it's just about making the right throw. And if you watch, it's just 3-step drop, and then he throws that thing with perfect throwing motion there. Like, this is really good mechanics, and it's very clean. And there's some decent touch on this ball to get it right over that linebacker and drop it right in the bucket.
That's a laser right on a that's a freaking frozen rope is what that is. That's a dart right over the linebacker's shoulder.
It's a great throw.
That is a great throw. So he doesn't have the touch per se, but the dude's got a cannon. Like, I can zip it in there. Not the Shedeur touch. Like, it's just a different type of ball these guys throw.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the touch on that throw was fine, but yeah, he typically throws a laser. These screen passes keep getting it high and away from him, though.
Yeah, that was a little high. Not the worst thing in the world, but definitely at that distance, you expect it to be perfect with nobody around him. Dude, he's so fast, man. Holy crap.
He moves like a running back.
It's like Lamar, but bigger. Like, he's literally like Lamar's like running qualities, but he's just a tank. He just hits you. Man, I wouldn't want to be a linebacker dealing with him all game.
Yep. Just want to bring up the super chat from Paul. Paul, thank you so much. Keep up the good work. We will. We're not going to stop putting in this good work.
Thank you, good sir. Appreciate it.
I think this is a really good rhythm passing game that they're calling. Alabama is in this one, and he's really playing on time and in rhythm. And this is one thing, like, we talk a lot about these quarterbacks in this class being a little bit undersized, many of them. Forgive me if I'm mistaken, but I think Milroe is 6'1". So
he is 6'2", 225.
6'2". Okay, so that's fine. But, I just wanted to highlight the fact that this is, a good high release point with this throw. High release point. Like, this defensive lineman gets his hand up and tries to bat it down, but he's got a good high release point to throw it over this 6'5", probably offensive and defensive lineman to make this short route completed to this tight end. So
He's 6'2", 225 without a belly like some of these QB prospects. He is 6'2", 225 with crafted by Zeus himself. That is Jalen Milroe right now. That's the frame he has. He's going to wear you down. And I kind of like that if you're an offensive coordinator. You can use him kind of like how the Rams use Kyron Williams. You just run these defenses down, and they're just gassed by the end of the game dealing with him as a runner. I mean, look at that. You can't find a quarterback with that type of speed, man. That's, unless you're Lamar, that's unique.
And
that contact balance.
This
crap.
is just, that's elite rushing from the quarterback. There's really not a ton to break down there.
Just special talent.
This is a great play by that tight end. But I just want to, again, point out these are very quick one read passing concepts that they're running, but he is getting them out on time, and his drops are actually pretty solid. like he has this tendency to kind of lean on these throws because he's really whipping it with his arm. His hips don't move at all on this throw. And I do think that's something to highlight. And that's probably where his accuracy problems stem from, is a lack of hip movement. But this is on time. A lot of the reason why he's not moving those hips is because he's just trying to make sure the ball is on time. And he does have good timing, once again, to get this ball to that tight end right away and allow him to turn upfield and make a play. So I think he's got really good timing as a passer, knows where to go with the football. It's just about getting those mechanics down and fixing that accuracy.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about a little bit how he's going to have an offense built around him. I actually like that. I think that designing an offense to your player's strengths is so much better and easier to have sustainable success than trying to force a player into your system. I think Mahomes, they found a great system to leverage his strengths. They found it for Lamar. They found it for Jalen Hurts. They found all the great quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford, and the offensive run with Sean McVay. All of these quarterbacks are leveraged. They're all put in a place where they can succeed. The Giants don't do that sometimes. The Giants force their quarterbacks to do stuff they shouldn't really be doing all the time. And I really hope that, if they went in this type of direction, they would design an offense that really maximized his running game. Cause it's a great throw outside hash. Like, that's a really great throw. Like this guy has super talent, like super athleticism, stuff you can't teach, so this is just stuff you can't teach in humanity, really.
Yeah, listen, I think he knows where to go with the ball. This is like a really good read. I like this route concept as well. It's just, you've got the outside receiver running a go to pull that safety out of position, and then you just got this deep out route. And again, it's on time. I'm always looking for timing with these quarterbacks because I think that's what's important to see if they can play in rhythm. Again, he's got this ability, he's got this tendency to just kind of come over the top and, rip it with his arm. Yeah, and it's not, again, the cleanest mechanics, but the ball is getting there in this game. So
if they could fix that to be a lot more fluid, he's going to become insane. So
yeah, he's got like a limitless ceiling, and this is the thing is we talked about Josh Allen recently. I remember I was telling you, Alex, how there was that video that I was watching where he was breaking down with that personal trainer of his who basically only worked on him and his hips to fix his throwing mechanics. It's the exact same flaw for Jalen Milroe. I actually don't hate the Josh Allen comp for him coming out of college. I'm not saying current Josh Allen, because current Josh Allen is a completely different player than he was at Wyoming.
Totally.
Because he fixed his hips and his throwing mechanics. But for Wyoming Josh Allen as a comp to Jalen Milroe, I don't hate it. I see a lot of those similarities in terms of their strengths and weaknesses. I don't think he's got quite as strong of an arm as Allen had, but they have the same problems mechanically speaking. And I think Milroe is a better runner than Wyoming Josh Allen was, even though he was a very good one. So I see those similarities, and that's why I just keep thinking if Brian Dable was able to hook Josh Allen up with a really good trainer and fix that part of him and then build an offense around him, I really do think there is potential for him to do special things with a guy like Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, I do think he is still like a second round player. But if the Giants went Travis Hunter and got Jalen Milroe and you gave him two tremendous receiving talents, a good OL, you can invest more there because you have now your whole offense is basically locked up on rookie contracts. You could do something cool here. Like you have a quarterback that can teach him the ropes. Maybe I would even prefer, Anthony, to have a quarterback that's, maybe not exactly his style, a little bit more of a passer to help him in that regard. I know we love Justin Fields in terms of being a bridge, but maybe you want to get somebody that's a little bit more of a refined passer that he can kind of sit and learn from as a mentor.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure who that would be. It's a scarce quarterback market, but
Winston,
maybe. I want to say, though, on this play, he gets to his third read on this one. Again, he knows where to go with the football. Like, I think his processing has been really good in this game in particular. And this guy who's open at the top, that's his fourth read. He's not, the third read's open, you're going to take it. You're not going to pass it for the chance that the fourth read is more open. But if you watch his eyes, he goes from left to right. He's staring down this linebacker, reading that, and he does. And he's like, okay, number 2 is covered. All right, let's get to this tight end, covered. And now let's get back over the middle. All right, he's open. And I don't think the throw is the best. I think it's a little bit low and inaccurate. And again, if you watch from the tight angle, it just is mechanics. Like, he knows where to go with the ball, but he misses his throw because he doesn't even use his hips at all when throwing the ball.
Let me ask you a question, Anthony. Yeah. Would you? This is a kind of an interesting question. But would you take a quarterback in the first round and then take a shot on Milroe on the second if he was there and just rebuild your whole quarterback room with rookies?
That is an interesting question.
Right?
I don't think I would go back-to-back rounds in the first and the second. But listen, the Washington, at the time, Redskins Commanders, they took Robert Griffin III second overall and then took Kirk Cousins in the third.
Right.
That I could probably get behind. I don't think you go back-to-back rounds, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Unless you walk out of the pre-draft process with a first-round grade on Milroe, like a top 10 grade, and he's sitting there at the beginning of the second round, sure, then I think maybe you do it, even though it's bold. However, I don't think if you have a second, I mean, he's on the board. He's definitely on the board with how bad this quarterback room has been. But if you have a second-round grade on him and he's there in the second round, but you just took a first-round prospect at quarterback, I don't think you do it.
Yeah,
but if you have a first, second-round grade on him and he's there in the third round, rip it.
Giant, we could just revitalize the whole quarterback like kind of scheme for the Giants and have Milroe still play at times as like a runner. Like have him do specialized stuff as a rookie and not be the primary quarterback. Like you could just get crazy on offense and just have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean the Patriots took Drake May with the third, and then they hedged their bet with Jalen Milroe and
Joe Milton. Yeah,
Joe Milton in the sixth,
right.
Which is what the Giants should have done. At least taken a flyer on Milton, but they didn't. But I'll digress off that.
We hate drafting quarterbacks. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean 6 years without drafting a quarterback. I don't know how that's possible. I think we have to be on the longest run without drafting a quarterback in the NFL. I'm going to actually do some research on that to confirm, but I just have to imagine that we are the team with the longest run without drafting a QB. All right, so this is an interception. I don't know if I blame this one on him, though, because it looks like it was dropped by the tight end.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a little bit behind him, maybe. I have to see the other angle.
It looked to me like he was trying to make sure he didn't run him into contact with this throw. I think that's a perfect ball.
Yeah, he's got to catch that.
Got to catch that. I actually think that's a really good ball because, again, you've got these linebackers in the middle of the field where if he does lead him, number 11 could potentially tip that or blow him up or pick it off, whatever. This is right in front of his outstretched arm, right into the gut of number 81, the tight end, and he just drops it.
Yeah, he just drops it. That's not Milroe's fault.
Yeah. The only argument that I would make against Milroe on this play is this tight end's running this little check release, and he runs it well, and he's open here, but it's a tight window, and you could potentially make the argument for throwing this thing up one-on-one coverage against number 3, or for number 3, or for this top receiver who's a little bit more covered. But I would say that number 3 has pretty good leverage here on this cornerback, and you could probably take that shot on a fade.
You probably check it to the running back too. It's a little space.
There's a really good route by number 3, actually. Yeah, you could. And I don't hate this process because it is a good throw and it should be caught. But if we're looking for other options on this play, I don't know what the read progression was. If the tight end was the first read, it usually wouldn't be though on the check release, which is why I think number 3 was probably the first read, and number 3 probably should have gotten the ball.
Yeah, back shoulder throw, laser beam to the back shoulder would have been a nice play.
Yeah, I also don't know the down and distance though, so maybe that had something to do with it.
True.
And again, I don't know what the read progression was, but if number 3 was the first read, that ball should have went to him.
Right. Nice. That was a good route. Come back to the ball.
Yeah, just another one of those quick hitches, and I like plays like this. If the cornerback is playing that far off, I think that ball is thrown with fine timing. It kind of takes a little while to get there, though, I feel like. I don't know.
He was really far out there. Maybe that's why I felt like that.
Yeah, it was a far throw.
He's completing a lot of these shorter concepts, which I like to see. I want to see him do these little things. You know what I mean? Like Sanders, this is where he thrives. And these short, accurate throws. Milroe, I want to see him operate more like this.
Agreed with you. However, on this play, I don't like this throw. This is clearly too high safety. And anytime you have too high safety, you know that middle of field is open and you want to attack that deeper middle of the field portion. And you're going to see here, this receiver from the slot is breaking wide open on this dig, and this ball should have gone to him. You've got 2 linebackers sitting down on this route. That route is designed to pull those linebackers down and open up this throwing lane, and it is open, and he should have read that low to high, or really high to low, and thrown this route to that dig on the over.
I don't think he was looking his way either.
No, I think he kind of just trying to get the ball out quick and, too quick. He rushed his progressions here. Definitely got to get this ball to this wide open in route on a play like that.
Right. Even at the bottom of the screen, number 5 is like shaking his hands because he thinks he's open too.
Yeah, on this slot fade, he definitely
Yep.
does get open.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He burns
Yeah.
them.
Just
It
wait
looks
an
like
extra
this is
second.
Yeah, this looks like it's just cover 2 man with quarterback spy, and that quarterback spy ends up double teaming this wide receiver. Or maybe he just blew his assignment. Maybe he was supposed to play man on this guy and didn't, because that might be what it was. Because that guy's open, and it looks like it's man coverage across the board elsewhere. I want to address this comment real quick from I'm 100. Bama QBs scare me. They play with elite talent. True, they do, but they also play against elite talent. You know, Alabama does play in the SEC against the best of the best, and I think that deserves credit as well. But you're right. A lot of Alabama quarterbacks have not panned out. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa has had his highs and his lows for sure, but you do make a good point. All right, now this time he just passed up a wide open receiver, and I don't know what he was thinking. Slot receiver breaks open almost immediately on this play.
Yeah.
Ball's got to come out. Can't miss that read.
Really slow. Yeah, even
I don't know.
I've been seeing a lot of these receivers. I would say a lot of these receivers have their hands up like, what the hell? Like every time I see, they're all like, I'm wide freaking open. Like, why are you not throwing it? There's clearly some like frustration. And they this is like one of his best games, if not his best game of the season by far. And there's a lot of flaws. Just from his receivers, he's just not throwing the ball to his open guys. I don't really know why sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he passes this one up, because he does look to the left side of the field here immediately when, like, you should be able to see that this is the exact coverage that you want with a spot route over the middle of the field. I mean, I get that's the line to gain, but you can definitely gain some yards there after the catch. So, not sure about the decision to pass that up for a weaker option.
Yeah, not even to the sticks either.
No.
Okay, you're getting zesty.
Some real trickery there. I literally hate play design.
I literally hate that. Anything like that involves ridiculous stuff like this, just to throw it behind the line of scrimmage is
the Detroit Lions are the only team that I've ever seen pull off some bullshit.
Because like they always make the first guy miss, and that's the one guy you have to make miss in these, you know.
Yep. All right, let's break down this play, because I think there's definitely something to chew on here. This is clearly against a zero blitz. I mean, they're sending a lot of pressure here, and he does stand in there with the pressure in his face and makes a throw. Falls incomplete, but I want to see who is primarily responsible for this incompletion, whether it's him or if it's just a good play by the defense.
This has to be a 4th down.
It's long yardage to go. So 3rd down. You see the 3 right here. So it's 3rd and long. So I see that these wide receivers, especially the one at the top, is basically just running sticks. So they're going to go up to the 1st down marker. If they've got the ability to blow by him on the go, they're going to take it. If not, they're just going to sit down at the sticks. And with the cornerbacks playing so far off, that's what they do. But again, it just looks like it's man coverage across the board, cover 0, and or QB spy, which makes sense when you're playing Milroe. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, guys just blanketed. There's really not much that you can do in this situation, I guess.
Yeah, I think he was trying to go to the near side of the field to shorten the throw, but definitely nothing to go.
I would think, though, that this tight end probably had the most leverage out of all the receivers on this post route with nobody over top. That's probably the throw you want to hit. But yeah, I think the pressure forced him to get the ball out a little too quick and honestly probably lock into his first read.
Yeah, I would love for that to be like he looks off that DB in the middle of the field and then hits that cross post. But it's just the pressure's there. Maybe even roll out of that play. There's nobody there.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got the legs, make a play.
Yeah, might as well
use them.
Man, just so much. They're all waiting for him to run.
All right, so I love this play because I think that he clearly had a first read that he wanted to take, and he realized it wasn't open, so he pulled it back. And I don't really think anybody was open, so I like the decision here to
I wouldn't have hated the check down the bottom to his running back. He had a lot of space there.
Well, that's where he's looking. This linebacker is playing man coverage. He's jumping on it real quick. So I agree with this.
He was just a little late.
Pull his ball down.
Yeah, I think he could have got it out a little bit, like just immediately. But yeah, I mean, not worth taking the risk if he doesn't feel like he can get it there in time.
Yeah, I think that's covered based on the leverage that the linebacker had. If anything, I would say that he could have waited on it and maybe thrown this wheel
just
route
deep wheel.
because it's a wheel. But I don't know. I don't think there's really anybody open across the board here. So I don't
Yeah,
mind
it's
the
not the worst
decision to
decision.
pick up some yards.
Let's see. A lot of pressure on that one. Did he drop that?
Yeah, it was dropped.
It's a good ball.
It's a good ball. Off platform too, fading on his back foot. Should have been caught.
How many times have we seen that the last 3 days? Should have been caught.
This is a good throw as well. He's going through his progressions in this game. Again, I know that somebody said this is an outlier, but I mean, he's looking at this tight end. That's his first read, and he notices number 3 is on it. He doesn't force that throw, and he gets to his second read. And
it's so strange because like he's going through his reads, but then he's like ignoring them sometimes, when they're open.
Yeah, he misses some of them, but you got it.
Oh, that was a ridiculous freaking catch.
And this is the right read on this throw. This is a great throw because, again, you're recognizing that there is no safety over top. It's man coverage, and so you're going to have this post route over the middle, and it's good timing. It's just
he gets hit too right as he's throwing that.
This is a great throw. This is a great throw. A+ throw if I'm Tom Brady. I hate when Tom Brady does that. I don't know if you have a take on that.
He's not a great commentator.
His random grading of every throw. He's that's a D+ throw. That's a C+ throw. I'm like, I don't enjoy it. Does take a hit there. I think that ball is fine too. I don't think it hangs too much. I think that's a great throw.
Gets there in a hurry.
It's a good throw. Honestly, yeah, reading the coverage, knowing that there's no safety help over top, and just putting it up near that hash. I like it.
And his bad games, though, must look kind of ugly in the passing game. Because we're seeing a lot of like missed opportunities in this game alone, and this was his best game by far. In his other games, I can't imagine it's very pretty.
Yeah, this game was mad wild, though. I remember watching this one live.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't know if that was an option, but if it was, he should have handed it off.
That's what I was thinking. It's like, I feel like there was a lot of space. Oof. That's a no man's land ball.
They run a lot of those wheel routes with that running back.
Yeah.
I think the linebacker saw that one coming.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like in this game, specifically in this game, the designed runs were not very effective. He was so much better running just when he was escaping the pocket.
Yeah, that play was messed up. The snap count was clearly off, and he wasn't ready. Nobody was, but at least he gets the ball off. I gotta say though, this somebody, if anybody's watching, knows Georgia football, tell me who number 3 is, because this guy's all over this film. He is creating disruption on almost every play. He is balling out, this linebacker.
Sailed him.
Yeah, ball gets away from him. Once again, we've got a receiver at the top of the screen looking like, why didn't I get the ball here? I think this one he's locking into his reads a little bit too much on the side. He's once again pulling it down, which good, because if he throws this, it's probably a pick. Number 3 again in good coverage. But then he goes to the high route, and it's open in theory. Like, this route concept worked. 80 pulled 6 out of his zone, and so 81 should be open here. I think this is just a bad throw, like inaccuracy-wise. So I think it's a little bit tight over there, though, too. And I probably would have tried to get to the other read on the backside, but.
Another little design run. He's just so fast, man. They're stacking the box a lot of times just because they know the real threat here. But a couple yards.
It's a good throw.
Him a little bit. There was a guy over the top, though.
Yeah, needed to be behind him with this zone defender.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'll take that.
He guns it.
Yeah, he does. He has a laser on his arm, man. Oh, it's good defense too, man. They're really locking him down the run game. Even though he had 117 yards, he must have rushed like 25 times in this game.
This one, I think he throws while he's under pressure. I mean,
sure.
He definitely forces this one. And again, there's no safety help over top. I would take these. Yeah, the check down is wide open here, but they're not playing with safety help. I don't know if that's because they don't respect his deep accuracy or what, but number 5 has leverage for a home run ball here.
I think they're putting under pressure.
But yeah, he's under pressure. But dude, like when you got those legs and you've got that ability, make the man miss and then throw it.
He doesn't escape the pocket very often in terms of when he's throwing. He doesn't roll out and buy time for himself very often to throw. He's always
that's because he's too busy trying to read the field and he's a little bit slow with it.
Yeah,
so I don't think he's making these decisions super quickly.
Right. I don't know how that speeds up, but experience, just reps.
And reps.
That's why I think going back to school probably would have been a benefit because he's not going to play in the NFL immediately.
Yeah. Say he's a tick late on this one, but it's fine.
A lot of these little designed short routes for him.
Yeah, I think just because they're sending so much pressure.
Yeah, every play they're on him.
Yeah, Georgia's blitzing like crazy.
Yeah, they are doing a pretty good job disrupting his processing in the second half. And then then you just
I forget who number 2 is. I know this is that true freshman wide receiver. I don't remember his name, but
Jeremiah Smith. Is that his name?
I don't remember his name. I know, but he's like unbelievably good. Like he's 17.
No, that's Ohio. That's Ohio State. Who is this? What is his name? Alabama.
This is not the best throw. This is a good read though with one-on-one. Ryan Williams. Somebody said it.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, Ryan Williams is ridiculous. Every time I've watched him, he's just like way too good for his age. But this is not the best throw, but I like the read. When you've got the single high safety, you know that you've got one-on-one on the outside and you're going to take advantage of that coverage. He throws this shot up here and it's back shoulder. Again, not the best throw, but hell of a catch. And I like that he knows who his playmaker is and when it's one-on-one to give him a chance and he'll make plays for you. And that's what happens here. Actually, it's not the worst ball. It's not the worst. Yeah, this kid is just ridiculous.
Sick. Just a sick. I mean, that's a big time play. Big time play. A little low. Actually, it's fine. It's a great throw. Look, just from that other angle, it looked like it was low, but he just dropped down. He just held A.
It's also a great route by 5. I mean,
sick.
Oh my God.
Great receivers. I mean, you can see it. Like his receivers are excellent. They're always open.
Yeah, and that's something that a lot of people in the chat have been saying. You know, he's playing at Alabama with the best receivers in the world, so
maybe he should have better than
he is. But
yeah.
But I mean, this route is awesome. But it's also a good read to get it there. They played a lot of man coverage in this game. Georgia did, and they sent a lot of pressure. That time he had time in the pocket, and he read the field, and he made a good throw. So,
in this game specifically, he had an 81.8% completion rate. It was the highest of the season, and it by like 20%. So it actually boosted his numbers quite substantially. Really interesting. And interesting because PFF only had him with a 0% turnover worthy play percentage, and I think that makes sense. I didn't see anything that was outlandish in terms of stuff that looked like it could have been turnover.
Yeah, I don't think he threw any turnover worthy balls. The only pick that he threw was a clear and obvious drop. So. Yeah, I thought that he played really well in this game. Again, it's probably the outlier, as
3 drops
stats would suggest, and as a lot of people mentioned. But I think that I've been higher on Jalen Milroe than most people have been this whole time. I like him. I think that he is very coachable. His strengths and his weaknesses are very reminiscent of something similar of a Josh Allen. Again, I'm not saying that they're the same talent level, but I love the strengths and the weaknesses. I think Milroe is very coachable. I think his ceiling is unlimited. And I do think that he has better passing traits than people give him credit for. So I do like Milroe, and I would be happy with him in the second round if that's where the Giants are considering taking him.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where he's going to go. He's really polarizing to me. I don't know if he's necessarily a guy that I would – if I was Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, if I would draft him, because I think that they're looking for someone that's going to be a little bit more consistent instead of look, if Brian Dable and Joe Shane were in year one of their tenure, I would say draft him in the second round because you could develop him over time. I think it would be a perfect situation if he was the first year GM. But right now, I think they need more immediate results. You're muted. Oh. I can't hear you. Are you muted?
Yes, I'm muted. I'm
sorry.
explaining. Yeah, my fault. I'm saying the stream cut out for about a minute there. So somebody, like maybe because we were showing the film, I'm not exactly sure what it was, but we were blacked out. I was checking YouTube and I did see that. So thank you guys for alerting us down below. Hot Sauce did. So we're sorry about that. But we are wrapping this up anyway because we've gotten through the whole film. But Alex, will give you the opportunity to just repeat the point that you made because you were blocked off from the viewers.
What I said was, if it was Joe Shane and Brian Dable's first year or even second year as GM and head coach, I would spend a second round pick on Jalen Milroe to develop him over time. But because we're so pressured to have consistent quarterback play now and have a rookie that can step in and assume that starting role at some point, I do think they will ultimately go in a different direction. I think it's like, what Zach is saying, he's too much of a project right now, but I could see a more established team like the Eagles or Ravens drafting a player like this and just sit and learn, buddy. Just sit and learn behind a guy that has a similar play style to you. So that's kind of what I would do. He's a guy that I would draft into a system that already works for him. And then he can learn in that kind of structure. But for the Giants, I don't really see it. I think the upside is certainly there, but it's too much of a project for me right now. And this being his best game of the season and seeing some of the flaws that we did, I would much prefer Cam, Shadur, or even Jackson Dart over him. If I had to rank guys that I would, kind of find myself leaning towards. I don't know if you would agree with that.
Personally, my rankings right now are Cam Ward 1, Shador Sanders 2, and 3A is Milroe, 3B is Dart. I prefer the physical can't teach traits from Milroe over the traits that Dart has, which are clearly more just refinement based in terms of having 3 years of starting experience as a passer in a pass heavy offense. Milroe hasn't had that experience, and I think he is already pretty far ahead of where he should be as a passer. And he just has the traits that you can't teach. So I'm personally going to have him right now a little bit ahead of Dart. But again, we're going to do more of these breakdowns. We definitely should do another Milroe breakdown and look at one of his worst games, I think. Get the best and get the worst. And I think that we can definitely get a better feel and sense of how we view him as a prospect. But this was very impressive game film that we just checked out. Again, his strengths and weaknesses, I've mentioned it. I like the comps that you can make for Milroe. I think his ceiling is unlimited. And Alex, I do agree with you. Like, because of the New York Giants situation right now, I'm not sure he's going to be considered a fit for them by them. But by me, I consider him a perfect fit for Brian Dable. I think that this is exactly, the Giants are exactly where Milroe should want to go. And if we get to the combine at the end of February and we hear that quarterbacks are 100% going off the board 1-2, then I do think the Giants should go into free agency, sign the best bridge quarterback that they can, and make Milroe their backup plan. If they know that they have no chance of getting Ward or Sanders, I would make Jalen Milroe my priority number 1 in the draft with the 34th pick. But in fact, I would trade up into the back end of the first round and make sure that I get him with that 5th-year option. So I like Milroe a lot. I think I'm much higher on him than a lot of other fans are. But again, we got a lot more research to do, and we're going to do it all live on the channel for you guys as we have been doing. Hopefully our streams don't get doxxed again, though. That would be really, really unfortunate. So again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in on this one. Remember, the sponsor of today's episode is BetUS. Make sure to go check them out and use code YouTube150 for a 150% deposit match up to $2,000. But that's pretty much going to do it. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, ring the bell, comment down below, follow us on Instagram and all of our social medias at Fireside Giants, and we will catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.